The Simpsons is one of my favourite TV shows. Having rewatched a lot of seasons 1 through 8, which I consider to be the golden years, I've decided to do a top 10 list of my favourite episodes. Number 10, Itchy and Scratchy and Marge. Itchy and Scratchy and Marge is my favourite Marge episode. The episode begins with Homer attempting to build a spice rack for Marge. However, while he's making it, Maggie hits him in the head with a mallet. Marge discovers that Maggie was imitating what she saw on the Itchy and Scratchy cartoon, and so decides to write a letter to the team behind the cartoon. When Marge receives a rude letter back, she decides to start protesting outside the building. After an appearance on Smartline, a late-night discussion programme, Marge convinces the parents of town to write to the writers and convince them to change the show. However, when the parents of town, inspired by her, also want to censor Michelangelo's David, a piece of art that Marge enjoys, she sees the error of her ways. There's a lot of laughs in this episode, including Krusty's friend Corporal Punishment, Marge as a squirrel on the Itchy and Scratchy cartoon, and an alternative no-violence version of the Itchy and Scratchy opening. Number 9, When Flanders Failed. There's some really good episodes that focus on Ned Flanders. I personally think When Flanders Failed is the best of them. The Flanders family throw a barbecue and invite the Simpsons family. Homer refuses to go, however he soon turns up when he smells the food and begins to stuff his face. Ned announces that he's opening a left-handed store called the Leftorian, and Homer wishes on a wishbone that the store goes out of business. When Flanders' store gets no customers and starts to fail, Homer is delighted and starts to take advantage of Ned's money troubles. However, when the store goes out of business, Homer starts to feel guilty and makes things right by spreading news of the store and bringing enough customers to keep Ned's business going. It's a very sweet and satisfying ending to see Homer learning a lesson and trying to right his wrong and helping out Ned. There's also a B story involving Bart pretending to take karate classes only to be caught out by the school bullies. Number 8, Itchy and Scratchy Land. Itchy and Scratchy Land is an hilarious episode with loads of quotable lines such as "Remember we parked in the Itchy lot," which is a line people I know still use today. Bart and Lisa learn that tickets to Itchy and Scratchy Land are now half price. They try to convince their parents to take them, but Marge informs them that she's already organised them to go to the Highway 9 bird sanctuary for their holiday. Bart and Lisa manage to win over Homer and Marge with the Parents Island part of Itchy and Scratchy Land. On the way there, Homer gets lost and takes a shortcut. We don't see the shortcut, but Homer advises the family that they should never talk about it again. While there, Bart and Homer both get arrested for abusing their staff. Marge bails them out, but tells them off for the embarrassment she's suffered. However, the family soon discover the robots have taken over the park and everyone else has been evacuated. The family overcome the robots by destroying their circuits with camera flashes and are rewarded for their bravery with 2 free tickets. This is a great episode which still makes me laugh to this day. Number 7, Treehouse of Horror 3. This is my favourite of the Treehouse of Horrors. The first segment tells the story of Homer buying a talking Krusty doll for Bart for his birthday. However, the doll is alive and threatens Homer. After witnessing the doll attack Homer, Marge phones the customer services hotline who send out an engineer. This is a very funny segment. The doll makes several hilarious attempts at Homer's life, and the twist at the end is so ridiculous it's funny. The second segment is a King Kong parody, with Homer as King Kong and Marge as Ann Darrow. There's a very funny joke in the segment involving Homer's King Kong struggling to climb the Empire State Building. And the final segment is about zombies. Bart accidentally raises the dead while trying to bring Lisa's dead cat Snowball 1 back from the dead. The family fight their way to the school's library to find a book that will get rid of the zombies. There's a great joke in this episode where Homer shoots the zombified Ned Flanders. Bart informs Homer that he shot the zombie Ned Flanders, to which Homer replies, "He was a zombie?" I'm sure loads of people disagree with me, but I do think this is the best of the Treehouse of Horrors. Number 6, Homer the Heretic. Homer the Heretic is a great episode, in possibly the strongest season of The Simpsons. Homer refuses to go to church one Sunday, claiming it's too cold, so the family goes without him. Homer enjoys his day at home while the family frees at church. When they return, Homer claims to have had the best day of his life, all thanks to skipping church, and vows never to go again. Homer's decision to give up church lead to Marge, Reverend Lovejoy, and the Flanders family to try to convince him to return. He continues to skip church and becomes rude to the people of other religions, including Krusty and Apu. However, when Homer falls asleep while smoking, the house catches fire and the people that Homer was rude to rush to his rescue. There's a really funny joke here where Homer thinks about leaving Flanders in his burning house right after Flanders saved him from his. This is a great episode and has a good message of not mocking people of other religions. Number 5, Dog of Death. There have been a handful of Santa Still Helper related episodes. Dog of Death is, in my opinion, the best. It begins with the town becoming obsessed with the lottery. Homer becomes convinced that he will win, buying 50 tickets. There's a really funny daydream of Homer's where he thinks about what to spend the money on. He plans to be the biggest man in the world and covered in gold, which is so utterly stupid it's funny. After obviously not winning the lottery, the family notice that the dog is sick. They take him to the vet, who reveals that he has a twisted stomach and it will cost $750 to fix. The family discuss the cost savings they will have to do to pay for the operation. The dog has the operation and becomes healthy again. As time passes, we see that the cost savings start to affect the family negatively. They take their frustration out on the dog. Feeling unwanted, the dog runs away and ends up with Mr. Burns, who trains him as a guard dog. The family starts searching for the dog and Bart finds him at Mr. Burns' house. Santa Still Helper starts to attack Bart, but soon remembers him and treats him with affection. Bart takes him home where he's greeted by the family. This is a great episode and has a very sweet conclusion between Bart and Santa Still Helper. Number 4, Cape Fear. Cape Fear is my favourite of the Sideshow Bob episodes. It begins with Bart receiving death threats written in blood. The family try to attempt to work out who they're from with little success. It's revealed that Sideshow Bob is behind the death threat and has been planning to murder Bart. After being paroled from prison, he confronts the Simpsons family in a cinema and begins to threaten and harass Bart. The Simpsons seek out help from Witness Protection, who give them the new name of the Thompsons and move them to Terror Lake. However, Sideshow Bob has been hiding under their car and follows them there, where he attempts to kill Bart on the family's new houseboat. However, Bart outsmarts him and he ends up back in prison. This is a very funny episode and has a number of memorable jokes, including Sideshow Bob's tattoo, Die Bart Die, which he explains as German for the Bart the, and Homer's inability to remember the name of Homer Thompson. Number 3, Homer's Enemy. Homer's Enemy is the best episode of Season 8 and the last great episode of Classic Simpsons. Mr. Burns hires a new employee named Frank Grimes. Frank is a self-made man who's had to work hard and struggle to get where he is in life. He begins to work with Homer in Sector 7G, and soon enough Homer begins to make a nuisance of himself. Frank begins to wonder how Homer still has a job, when he clearly doesn't do any work. When no one else is able to see this, he becomes infuriated. Frank reveals to Homer that they are enemies, causing Homer to invite Frank over to dinner in an attempt to win him over. However, when Frank sees how well Homer's done in life, he gets even more angry at him. He tries to humiliate Homer by tricking him into entering into a work contest for children. When this backfires, Frank finally goes berserk, and what we get next is one of the funniest, darkest endings in Simpson history. Number 2, Homer Badman. Homer Badman is my favourite Homer episode. It begins with Homer and Marge attending a candy convention while a college graduate named Ashley Grant babysits Bart, Lisa and Maggie. While driving Ashley home, Homer notices she is sat on a gummy Venus de Milo. Homer tries to retrieve it, and Ashley mistakenly interprets this as sexual harassment. The next day, Ashley and her college friends turn up at the Simpson house to begin an anti-harassment protest. Things get worse after Homer gives an interview on a show called Rock Bottom, which edits Homer's interview to make him look like a pervert. Other media organisations begin to produce lies and misinformation in an attempt to destroy Homer's character, including a Fox Night at the Movies segment called Babysitter and the Beast. Eventually, groundskeeper Willie comes forward with evidence that clears Homer's name, and the media organisations are forced to issue an apology. This episode shows how dangerous it is to believe the tabloids and the threat of trial by media, and how important innocent till proven guilty is. There's some really great jokes in this episode, including Homer's song about moving under the sea, Homer's edited interview on Rock Bottom, and the Gentle Ben segment. Number 1, Rosebud. Rosebud is, in my opinion, the best episode of The Simpsons. Mr. Burns starts having nightmares about his lost childhood teddy bear Bobo. After his birthday party turns into a disaster thanks to Homer's stand-up and the Ramones, Mr. Burns starts a campaign to find the bear. We are then shown what happened to the bear after Mr. Burns lost it. It seemed to have had an interesting history and impacted on major events throughout history before ending up at the Simpsons' house with Maggie. Homer agrees to return the bear for $1 million and free Hawaiian Island. However, he changes his mind when he sees how attached to the bear Maggie is. Mr. Burns and Smithers make some really hilarious attempts to steal the bear. When that fails, Mr. Burns tries to get to Homer by getting rid of TV and beer. This causes the townfolk to storm the house in an attempt to take the bear. However, they also change their minds when they see how attached to the bear Maggie is. In the end, we get a very sweet ending where Maggie gives the bear back to Mr. Burns. This episode has a lot of funny scenes including Homer's stand-up routine, Mr. Burns appearing on TV to disrupt the shows, and Professor Fink's robot bear.